Now, it's always a pleasure having your company right here on the Duke's Farm. My name is Dennis Duke, Uganda. If you're new here, kindly subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on different social media platforms at Dennis Duke UG. On this particular channel, we talk nothing but farming. And farming, not just farming, but farming as a business, because I want people to get money out of their different ventures. And here we talk extensively about rabbit farming and everything related to rabbitry. And for those of you who've been asking where our farm is located, my farm is located in Mukono along Katosi Road. If you want to pay a visit, we charge you a small fee just to come for the tour and training. Today we want to talk about something that is equally important when it comes to rabbit farming, and that's feeding or feeds. What type of feeds do you give your rabbits? When do you give your rabbits that particular feed? And the different types of weeds that are here on the market, or also that you can find right in your garden. So I'm trying to just identify for you some of those particular feeds, and we shall be going straight into that just in a few. I'm glad you're still watching the Duke's Farm. First things first, rabbit farming, comparing it to other different ventures in agriculture, doesn't require really a lot. In fact, when it comes to feeding, they eat just a small fraction. And when I talk of a small fraction, it could vary depending on how you understand it. But how I understand it is when you compare it to piggery, chicken, goat rearing, or animal or cows, it just eats a small fraction, and it does not compete with humans as opposed to other, agriculture ventures like chickens and piggery. So taking care of rabbits is something I have found very interesting because it's not tiring. However, if you are on a big scale, we are talking of people who have more than maybe 200 or 300 rabbits, then it's gonna be a bit tiring if at all you do not take some of the lessons that are in this particular video, because one thing that affects farmers on a big scale is finding the feeds for these small animals. As much as of course they do not eat too much, but when you have many of them, then it means you'll be required to have plenty of feeds so that you can have them eat well. Balancing the diet is also equally very, very important. Now, before I talk of the different kinds of weeds that are there and readily available, at least for now, I also want to let you know that feeding these animals requires a couple of things. One is having the ability to measure that now this is enough for this rabbit for a day. Usually, the recommended times you should feed your rabbits is 2 times. But if you have plenty of the feeds, then feed them at least 3 times in a day. It doesn't hurt you. If at all, it doesn't hurt you rather, because the more you feed them, the better they get. The giant they look, if at all it's a giant breed, the less food you give, equally it will affect the output of your rabbit. So you need to take a precaution when it comes to that. Rabbits have a very sensitive, delicate, digestive system. I repeat, rabbits have a very delicate, digestive, sensitive system. Anything that you feed your rabbits on should be properly prepared so that you avoid some of the shortcomings like bloating, diarrhea, among many other things. So you need to be very careful when it comes to feeding as well. So let me just break down for you the types of feed that we have on the market, and then the different kinds of weeds. I want you to be at par with me when I talk about this. So you can decide to feed your rabbits with pellets. You can decide to feed your rabbits on mush, rabbit mush. Those are some of the feeds that are available in the market for buying. But remember, I usually advise people that when you're doing something for business, it's usually good for you to go for feeds where you can get them for free and not incur that cost. Because a kilo of pellets right now is roughly at around 1,700 Uganda shillings. For those of you who are not in Uganda, the dollar is at roughly 3,600. So you can do the computing and then you know. So if you have a big farm and you do not have a pellet making machine, it means you'll be parting with some really huge sums of money for you to be able to actually feed these rabbits on pellets. But just so you should know, the composition of the feeds that you give this rabbit should also be in percentage. For example, the pellets should be roughly around 20%. 40% on weeds and then 40% on hay. Now, hay is dried grass. I'll come back with a video explaining how hay is made and what sort of weeds that are used to make hay, so that you get to understand hay but in a different video. So today let's just handle what is readily available and what we ought to discuss today. So the best time to feed your rabbits is usually in the morning, roughly at around 8, the latest being maybe 10, yes, for the morning hours. Then in the evening, you can feed it roughly around 5, 6, 7, okay? You can start with giving it greens, and then later, after you realize they've eaten some of the greens, then you drop the hay. What sort of percentage should the pellets be like? Usually in a day, these rabbits are estimated to feed roughly around 100 grams of pellets. So in the morning, if you are to, you can decide what you have to feed your rabbits on in the morning and then in the evening. For example, for me, I feed mine on either rabbit mash or pellets in the morning. So what I do, I just, a handful, like a handful, boom, you put it here. But also it depends on how many rabbits are in a cage, because there are some cages that have can accommodate like roughly 4 or 5 rabbits. So equally you have to put in food that is equivalent to 5 rabbits. The moment you put food that is not, then you'll be depriving those particular rabbits of their health. That is pellets for you. Pellets can be sold everywhere, anywhere. You can go to town, you can go to different farmers. I advise usually that go to a farmer that you know is equally doing rabbit farming, because the business, the rabbit farming business in Uganda, just like it is elsewhere, has been flooded with a lot of counterfeit persons, counterfeit people only looking at the money side of the business and not minding about the value that they are adding onto the business. So some farmers are equally money-minded, so they won't, or they may not be in position to put all the nutrients, all the compositions or all the ingredients that are required when making pellets. So they would want to, you know, use the readily small available ingredients to make pellets, and they walk away with huge sums of profits at the end of the day. So you need to go to trust the person you are getting your pellets from, because yeah, that pellet actually, those pellets are supposed to have the nutritional value that some rabbits may not necessarily be able to get within the weeds. But well, you know what I'm talking about. So you need to be very careful where you get your rabbit pellets. Another is the rabbit mash. Now, rabbit mash is on the market, but quite expensive because the different composition of it. I think also I'll come back, I don't know which day, to explain how to make the pellets, but also how to make the rabbit mash. Now, the rabbit mash is a mixture of different things, including maize bran, soya, among others that I may not be in a position to actually point out in this particular video. So equally the same, you need to balance so that these rabbits get the nutritional value out of it. Just to caution you, when giving it rabbit mash, please make sure that the maize, those maize seeds, or I don't know how they are called, but make sure the maize is not in the maize bran, because some of these animals, they have really sensitive digestive system, and their digestive system may not crush that maize, that whole maize, and at the end of the day you get bloating or some other difficulty complications on your farm. I thought you should know about that. Let's talk about the different kinds of weeds that are on the market. I've started with Chisanda. Now Chisanda, as you can see in that particular video, is a bit milky. It has some milky liquid stuff. If you happen to kind of break it or squeeze it, that will show you that this is Chisanda. Not every milky grass out there or weed out there is Chisanda, but Chisanda looks exactly like this, so I hope you are able to know. Now, one other aspect why I'm sharing this is because I want people to save costs as much as they can, because buying pellets on a daily, wow, it could be something very, very expensive. So that is Chisanda for you. Now, Chisanda is very good for breastfeeding mothers who you want the milk quantity to increase. So Chisanda is very good immediately after giving birth. Please give it Chisanda. You'll see the quantity in terms of milk increasing. Now, word of caution, Chisanda, do not feed it to pregnant rabbits because it has the capacity of actually causing a miscarriage. And just before you know it, you'll be losing your rabbits. Another is Kafumbe. I think Kafumbe is that particular one you're seeing on the screen. It's also very, very good for the rabbits. Now, something that I did not talk about when measuring these weeds is that most of these weeds have a bit, if not so many nutritional values that they give to the rabbits. Remember, these rabbits are wild animals, and they used to feed most of the time on the weed. So you know what it means. An animal that has been feeding on weed alone kind of tastes much better. So make sure that the composition of your feeds is too much of greens and not too much of the browns. I thought you should know that as well. So another thing that you can feed your farm or rabbits on is Mukasa. Now Mukasa is that weed that you are seeing on the screen. I'm not necessarily be in position to exactly explain some of the features clearly, but I hope that as I'm explaining, you get to see some of those particular weeds. Another thing that I also need to caution you about is please make sure that when you are looking for these weeds, you make sure that the weeds have not been sprayed. You see, there are different farmers or people out there who spray on their weeds just to kill them, and you may not know. For example, if somebody sprayed yesterday and you happen to harvest that weed, you are going to poison your rabbit. So please be careful where you are getting your rabbit weed from. So we have Chisanda, we have Kafumbe, we have Mukasa, we have another thing is maize leaves. Now, these leaves are equally liked so much by these rabbits, and they are easily got because maize is everywhere, and it doesn't really require you to do anything with the maize leaves. You just get it from the garden. As long as it doesn't have that morning dew or water, you place it somewhere just for a few minutes, and then you serve it to your rabbits. If you intend to actually have a big farm, a really, really big farm, even when you're on a small scale, but you have some space, please make sure that you plant some weeds around so that you're able to sustain at least for the next 4 months. Like, have a feeding plan. Plant your weed on the farm so that you do not have to go out of the farm to go and look for weed in other people's farms, because sometimes it could be actually inconveniencing for others. So I thought you should know that as well. Another thing that you can feed your rabbits on is the elephant grass. The elephant grass is that grass, I think it's called the Ugandan grass. I think it has its origins in Uganda. And that elephant grass can be eaten also by other livestock like goats, like cows. As you can see, ebisagazi in Uganda The elephant or Napier grass, yes. Its other name is Napier grass. You can buy the seedlings. I think the seeds, yes, the seeds are everywhere on the market. You can as well get some of those, you can go to the garden and dig from down and then pick a few of those and take to your farm and plant. You can also get the stems, okay? Those stems and cut it into, short pieces, and then just go and plant it in your garden, and boom, you'll be having the elephant grass or the Ugandan grass or the Napier grass. That grass can as well be made as hay or used as hay. You just cut it, you dry it somewhere, not under direct sunlight, but rather in a shade, and the moment it dries up, you just tie it and then serve it to your rabbits. They love it so very much. In fact, the Napier grass, the beauty with the Napier grass is that it doesn't have a lot of work on it. All you do, you just make sure it's not cold or wet. Just go and cut the leaves. Mostly they enjoy the leaves. If the branch is too big, please don't include it because they won't eat it. But usually the leaves are really sought after by these young or little animals of ours. So Napier grass is another kind of weed you shouldn't miss planting on your farm just to feed your rabbits. Let's talk about banana leaves. Yes, banana leaves is something that is also equally readily available, and it also doesn't require a lot of work. All you do, you just go to your garden, cut those banana leaves and feed them to your rabbits. You just place them in a corner, and then before you know it, in the morning they'll have eaten all the banana leaves. Just before we leave the banana peelings as well are equally a very delicious meal for these little animals of ours. So I thought you should know that as well. So we also have cabbages. Now, cabbages have their own nutritional value that they add to the rabbits. However, how you serve them to your rabbits is equally important, because cabbages have this sort of gas. In fact, let me combine cabbage and sukuma wiki. So because they're in the same cabbage family, I think. Yes, the kales, sukuma wiki. The kales or kale, it depends on how you pronounce it, but you know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the cabbage, but equally what the cabbage requires is equally what the sukuma wiki requires. Now for cabbage, please endeavor or make sure that wherever you're getting it from, they did not spray it. Now, in case it was sprayed, the only thing you can do is get salt, put in a basin, fill it with water, put enough salt that like you can even taste and see that, yeah, it's enough. And then get this cabbage, unpack it, I think that's the right word, put it in this basin and try to rinse and eat. Not washing, because washing is different. Rinse and eat, remove the pesticides in case they did use it, remove some of those different, inorganic things that they put on the leaves, on the cabbage. After you've done that, that applies of course to both cabbages and kales or sukuma wiki. Please and please do not feed your rabbits immediately after washing or after harvesting those particular cabbages and sukuma wiki. What you do is, after washing in water full of salt, please place them under the direct sunlight. Now for cabbages, put them under direct sunlight and biwotoke in Uganda. Biwotoke dala, like bigonde, so that they become soft under direct sunlight. Like real put in the direct sunlight so that they are soft before you serve it to the rabbits. Trust me, they love it so very much. Yes, these animals. That is for sukuma wiki and of course cabbages. Let's talk about other weeds like mukonzi konzi. Mukonzi konzi is that weed. It usually even grows and puts on some seeds. It is also one of the weeds or grasses that are used when making hay. In fact, at our farm we have enough of it. So what we do, we cut and then we place somewhere. It dries up and we feed to our animals as hay. Equally, it's just the same as Napier grass. It doesn't require a lot. You just go cut it, put it somewhere for it to just wilt. Actually, I was looking for that word, wilting. Please make sure you wilt your different kinds of greens, okay? Just so they dry up a little bit, not under direct sunlight, just under a shade. The only things that you need to put under direct sunlight are cabbages, kales or kale, sukuma wiki, and of course, what are they called? Potato veins. I'll be talking about potato veins in a while. So this mukonzi konzi, I don't know how it's called in English, but it is also very good and delicious meal for the rabbits. Another is namirembe. Yes, namirembe, I don't know whether you have it in your area, but namirembe is also sought after. It is greenish plus some white fruits and pinkish. I don't know whether it's pinkish or purplish, something like that. So make sure that you also wilt it before you give it to your rabbits. So let's talk about potato veins or potato leaves. I don't know whether they are leaves or veins. You can choose what you call them, but what you're seeing is what I am talking about. So you just pick them from the garden and then you dry them under direct sunlight. The reason as to why we put them under direct sunlight is so they become soft for these animals to digest, to be able to digest once you have served them with it. In addition to that, you can feed your rabbits with kaomera mbuzi. For those in Uganda, I don't know how to translate that in English, but it's called kaomera mbuzi. There is also wandering Jew. Yes, wandering Jew is also some really good food for the rabbits. There is also something I had forgotten. There is blackjack. Now, blackjack is almost everywhere. I don't know whether in your country it's there, but in Uganda it's called sere. Now, sere or blackjack has some medicinal values that it gives to these rabbits. Remember, we try to rear rabbits the organic way. Like, we want to minimize drugs as much as we can, minimize all those foreign things that are injected in animals. So giving them these weeds, you're literally or equally strengthening their immunity. So the blackjack is quite a handful of weed, because it has a handful of nutrients that are required by the rabbits. I think that's the little I could actually talk about today when it comes to feeding your rabbits. But please make it a point to serve your rabbits with clean feeds or food. Also, you give a good portion. Don't just because I said it eats something small, so you give it really, really small food. But you can feed all you want, your rabbit all you want. But if you fail at giving your rabbits water, you'll be equally doing a disservice to them, because the composition of rabbit meat or the rabbit itself is made out of water. And once in a while, make sure you disinfect your water system so that these rabbits drink from a healthy water source. Until then, it's a goodbye. If you haven't picked anything, I'm sorry, that's all I had for you today. However, these are not the only weeds that are fed to rabbits, okay? Globally, different countries feed on rabbits different weeds, different things. So I just spoke about what is available in my area, in my country, Uganda. I don't know what is available in Kenya. I don't know how you call blackjack in Kenya, but I hope you've been able to pick a few things here and there. For those of you who want to come to the farm for training, we charge a small fee depending on who and where, but also what we do is we do extensional services. We offer more advisors as one. We also do follow-ups for those who are intending to start their rabbit farms or different ventures in farming or in agriculture. So until then, it's a goodbye. Please use those particular numbers. Follow me on different social media platforms at Dennis Duke UG. Until then, see ya.